Hello and welcome to this edition of Question Hour from inside the Parliament House complex, wherein we bring you some important questions asked by the members of Upper House and responded to by the government in the previous session. I am Vishal Dahiya and with me is my colleague Kriti Mishra.
Thank you so much, Vishal. So let's take our viewers to important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. And the first question that we've picked up is from member D. Kupendra Reddy, and this one pertains to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs. And Mr. Reddy has asked about the steps taken by the government to redress the grievances of the consumers.
Well, the government, in its response to this question, says that Department of Consumer Affairs has set up a national consumer helpline for handling the complaints of the consumers. A consumer can lodge his or her complaint in the NCH through the toll-free number 1800-114000 or 1800-14404, SMS or online through the portal Ingram on www.consumerhelpline.gov.in. Now, the complaints received at the NCH are forwarded to the companies, regulators, government departments concerned for the resolution. For a quicker resolution of consumer complaints, NCH has partnered with more than 500 companies under its convergence program. The complaints relating to the convergence companies are transferred to them online for resolution. In the event of a complaint not being resolved by a company, the consumer is advised to approach a consumer forum of appropriate jurisdiction established under Consumer Protection Act 1986. Under the Consumer Protection Act 1986, a three-tier quasi-judicial mechanism called Consumer Fora has been set up at the district, state and national level to provide simple, speedy and inexpensive redressal to consumer disputes. Now, these quasi-judicial bodies have been empowered to give relief of a specific nature and to award, wherever appropriate, compensation to consumers. Well, the next one is also addressed to the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and this one comes in from member G.C. Chandrasekhar, who wants to know from the government whether sugar mills operated by HPCL Biofuels Limited owe a huge amount as sugarcane arrears to farmers and the steps taken by government to ensure payment of these sugarcane arrears to farmers.
Well, in the response, the government says that payment of cane price to sugarcane growing farmers by the sugar mill is a continuous process. However, on account of surplus sugar production during the previous sugar season, that was 2017-18, and current sugar season 2018-19, the sugar prices remained depressed, which adversely affected the liquidity of the sugar mills, resulting in accumulation of cane price arrears to the sugarcane farmers. The Sugarcane Control Order 1966 stipulates payment of cane price within 14 days of supply, failing which interest at the rate of 15% per annum on amount due for the delayed period beyond 14 days is payable. The powers to enforce the provisions of Sugarcane Order 1966 with regard to payment of cane dues of farmers is vested with the state governments, as they have necessary field information and formation for its implementation. The central government from time to time issues advisories to the state governments for ensuring clearance of cane price arrears of the farmers and to take action against defaulting mills, and also review the position through meetings and also video conferences. The government further says that with a view to improve the liquidity position of sugar mills of the country, including the state of Bihar, enabling them to clear cane price arrears of the farmers, the government took several measures. Now, these include fixing a minimum selling price of sugar with effect of 7th June 2018 at Rs 29 per kg for sale at factory gate in domestic market, below which no sugar mill can sell sugar. Extending assistance to sugar mills to offset the cost of cane in sugar season 2017-18 and 2018-19. Extending assistance to sugar mill by reimbursing carrying cost towards maintenance of buffer stock of 30 LMT of sugar. Moving on to the next question asked by two members, T.G. Venkatesh and Dharmapuri Srinivas, and this question pertains to the Ministry of Defence. And these members have asked the government whether it has taken note of the matter of imposition of tax on disability pension for military personnel.
Well, the Ministry of Defence, in response to this question, says that Central Board of Direct Taxes, that is CBDT, Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance, through its circular number 13/2019 dated 24th of June 2019, clarified that tax exemption will be available only to armed forces personnel who have been invalidated from service on account of bodily disability attributable to or aggravated by such service, and not to personnel who have been retired on superannuation or otherwise. The ministry further says that the matter is being taken up with the Ministry of Finance to clarify the matter. The next one is also to the Ministry of Defence, and this one is from member Muhammad Ali Khan, who wants to know from the government whether it proposes to lay roads on Indo-Nepal border, and if so, the details.
The response mentions that Ministry of Home Affairs has informed that the government has approved 1,377 kilometers of border road along Indo-Nepal border at an estimated cost of 3,853 crore rupees. Further, the government says that in addition to Border Roads Organization, which is BRO, interested with construction improvement of 269.05 kilometers of roads along the Indo-Nepal border at an estimated cost of 1,514 crore rupees. Let's move on to the next question asked by member CM Ramesh, and this one also pertains to the Ministry of Defence. And Mr. Ramesh has asked about the details of challenges being faced by our Jawans at Siachen Glacier.
The Ministry of Defence, in response to this question, says that the challenges faced by soldiers posted in Siachen Glacier stem from the peculiar terrain and weather conditions. Now, the major challenges due to inclement weather conditions are reduced human body efficiency, bright sunlight leading to snow blindness, blizzards and whiteout conditions. The troops deployed at forward posts bear the risk of avalanches, crevasses on glaciated surfaces, and have to negotiate ice walls apart from facing the common ailments associated with high altitude and glaciated terrain. The visit of dignitaries is always a big morale booster. The troops deployed in the high altitude have always been given high priority, and significant improvements have been made in equipment, clothing, rations and housing facilities as well. The next one is addressed to the Ministry of Home Affairs, and this one comes in from member Amar Shankar Sable, who wants to know from the government whether it is aware that victims of terrorist and communal violence face economic hardship and apathy, and whether it is a fact that adequate financial assistance is not being given to civilian victims of terrorist and communal violence.
In the response, the government says that Ministry of Home Affairs is administering a central scheme for assistance to civilian victims or family of victims of terrorist, communal or LWE violence and cross-border firing and mine or IED blasts on Indian territory, for providing assistance to the affected civilian persons as an immediate help for the sustenance and maintenance of the families of the victims. The scheme has been in operation since year 2008. The compensation has been enhanced from 3 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees from 24th of August 2016 onwards. The state governments make the payment and thereafter claim reimbursement. In addition, the MHA is also implementing a scheme called Security Related Expenditure or SRE for reimbursement of expenditure incurred by the state governments of Jammu and Kashmir, left-wing extremism, affected states or northeastern states on certain items, including granting of ex gratia to the next of kin of the persons who have died in extremist or terrorist violence. The next question also is to the Ministry of Home Affairs, and this one has been asked by member Ram Kumar Kashyap, and he has inquired about the steps taken by the government to check child trafficking.
Well, the Ministry of Home Affairs, in response to this question, says that police is a state subject under the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India, and as such, prevention of the crime of human trafficking is responsibility of the state governments. However, the Ministry of Home Affairs has been supplementing the efforts of the state governments by taking various initiatives and measures. MHA has issued advisories to the state and union territories from time to time on preventing and combating human trafficking. Now, these advisories are available at MHA's website, mha.gov.in. MHA has provided financial assistance to all states for setting up 332 anti-human trafficking units in various districts of the states. Financial assistance is also provided by MHA to judicial academies of states and state governments to hold judicial colloquiums and state-level conferences to sensitize judicial officers and prosecutors about various provisions of the law relevant to trafficking, and police officials about their role in curbing trafficking. Meetings of nodal officers of anti-human trafficking units of states and UTs are convened on periodic basis to sensitize them on human trafficking issues. To address cross-border trafficking, MHA has signed memorandum of understanding with Bangladesh, UAE and Cambodia. Well, the last question of this episode is to the Ministry of Culture, and this one comes in from member Jharna Das Padya, who wants to know from the government whether it proposes to open music and dance schools for people belonging to economically weaker sections of the society in the country.
The response given by the government is in negative. However, the government says that the Sangeet Natak Academy or SNA, an autonomous organization of this ministry, which is the Culture Ministry, runs its following centers to give support to the students, including those from economically weaker sections, for receiving training in dance and also music. Now, these include Kuttiyatam Kendra, Kerala, Jawaharlal Nehru Manipur Dance Academy, Manipur, Kathak Kendra, New Delhi, Satriya Kendra, Assam. Also, Kala Kshetra Foundation in Chennai, another autonomous body under the Ministry of Culture, offers courses in Bharatnatyam and Carnatic music through its Rukmani Devi College of Fine Arts. So Vishal, those were the important questions and answers for our viewers in this edition of Question Hour.
And on the other side of the break, our colleagues Arvind Singh and Kriti Singh will bring you some more questions in Hindi in Prashn Kal. Stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.